Hey guys, just got done watching 2003's remake of, where did I put the case? There it is, a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah, look at that cover. I really like that cover. That cover's excellent. Now, I was a bit silly because I watched the beginning first and I should have watched this one first. But this one follows the beginning, but this one came out in 2003 and the other one came out in 2006. So technically, I guess I watched the right one first because a lot of things that happen in that one, well, the prequel one, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, because it's not the first one, um, kind of shows in this one. So it's like, wow. So, I mean, I probably wouldn't have appreciated it so much if I'd have watched them so close together. So, anyway, this one stars a lot of the cast that were in the beginning, surprisingly, and I really like that. So, anyway, so there's Jessica Biel, Jonathan Tucker, Erika Leishman, Mike Vogel, Eric Balfour, Andrew Bronowski played Thomas Stewart Leatherface again, and he's my favourite, I think. Ali Ermey was himself again as Chef Hoyt. David Doffman, Norman German, Terence Evans, Luda May. You don't need to know the others because they don't matter. So this is supposed to be a remake of the 1974 movie, and this is set in 1973. I'm guessing the first one was, but I can't remember that very clearly, but I'm sure it was. Anyway, so the film starts off with some footage of like police going on about what happened, and the five people who went there didn't expect to have a terrible time. A bit like the original, to be honest, in that aspect. And then you meet the characters. You meet Erin, her boyfriend Andy. No, sorry, boyfriend Kemper. Andy, Morgan, and Pepper. Pepper's a hitchhiker who apparently is getting off with Andy in the back seat because she's all madly in love with him, which is a bit interesting. Wow, if only we could all pick up women as hot as her and start making out of them and try and give it to them in the back seat of the truck or the van. So Morgan takes the role, to be honest, of Franklin from the first one, in my view. And to be honest with you, I'm a bit upset that they didn't make him disabled in a wheelchair because I like that about the first one, the original one. I like that about the original of Texas Chainsaw Massacre because it brought a certain element to the movie, like some sort of kind of tortured soul kind of aspect because of how you saw in the original how he couldn't really get around on his own and how he was kind of very dependent and funny enough, it was a little bit slow, which, you know, I kind of liked because it brought a different element to the film in the 1974 classic. But Morgan seems to have his own little problems. Like, he seems to be a tiny bit simple. I don't know if they were meant to be, but it seemed a little bit, and it was going back and forth. Like, it was, he wasn't, he was nerdy, he was simple, he was nerdy, he was simple. So who knows? So you've got Pepper and Andy, and you've got Kemper and Erin. So basically, you start off with them after the thing, driving down the highway, looking for adventure. Yeah, they're gonna get one. So they're driving along, and basically they're smoking some weed, and Erin throws it out because she doesn't agree with it, and Morgan basically spats out, but it doesn't matter because we've got 2 pounds of it. Apparently, not Andy, Kemper wanted it so that he could build them a future, like buy a wedding, buy a ring, and all this stuff. And you're sitting there going, yeah, yeah. Why didn't you buy heroin or cocaine? You could get more for that. I guess no risk, no reward. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I don't agree with drugs, but so basically they end up all they're arguing and they almost hit this woman walking along in the road. Now this was different to the first one because in the first one they made what's his name? There you go, Edwin Neal, and he is like a hitchhiker. And in the later on you find out he's the brother of Leatherface, but in this that doesn't happen. And I think this scene is a little bit more effective than that scene was in the first one. But the first one was probably more effective back then because a lot more people picked up hitchhikers. As nowadays, I don't think a lot of people do it because of like the film The Hitchhiker and all the horrible stories you hear. So they see this woman wandering, they always hit her. And then they go, oh, yeah, excuse me. And she keeps walking. They eventually get her in the. They eventually get her in the van, and she's sitting there, and she goes, "No, no, you're going the wrong way. Don't take me back. Don't take me back. All my friends and family are dead, and all this." And then she pulls this gun out of her crutch. Now, what I want to know is, was this gun up her cuckoo? If you get what I'm saying, up her, in her lips, not the other, not these lips, the other lips. Anyway, so she pulls it out, and she's like, "Don't take me back. No, no." And basically she puts the gun in her head and shoots for her mouth. Well, it makes a big hole in the back window. And what I like was when the camera zoomed through the hole, that was a great shot. And that was so creepy and so disgusting. And they're all like, ah, ah, ah. Jessica Biel's like, ah, and you're like, yeah, okay. It was kind of put on, to be honest, that bit with her like, ah, ah, it was a bit put on. So they basically then want to find a copper. So they stop up at the gas station. Now this is where we meet one of the characters that was in it before. And I think her name was Lou. What was her name? I think it was Lou the May. I think. It could be Clerk. I don't know. I can't remember. But she's the mum of basically Sheriff Hoyt, basically. And she goes, "He wants you to meet him up by the shop, by the warehouse, because he needs to take the body up there, and he'll meet you there." And they're like, "We do mind. We don't want a dead body in the. We don't want a dead body in the van." And I'm like, "Yeah, me either. Especially with the head blown out. Imagine all that horrible thing. Imagine looking at it. Creepy." So they eventually go up there, and they're waiting and waiting. And as people do in their 20s and early 30s, the two of them decide to walk off and find a house, which is obviously the Hewitt family house. Yep. They knock on the door, and that's where we meet Old Monty. Now, in the beginning, which came 3 years later, you see Old Monty get his legs cut off because Sheriff Hoyt decides to make his thing come off. Gets Leatherface to cut his legs off. And you're sitting there going, "Wow, this same character is excellent," right? So they go, "Woohoo, yeah!" So he says Erin can come in, and she can call on the phone, but Kemper has to stay outside. So Kemper's like, "Okay, old man, don't worry about old man. Don't worry, don't hurt me." He walks off, sits outside. Well, Erin finishes the phone call, and she goes, "Yeah, we'll be there in half an hour." Then old Monty starts calling her. Help me, help me, help me. And he basically was trying to go to, he was pointing at that time, he was on the floor. So she tries to lift him up. And as she tries to lift him up, he looks over like this. And you see a figure walk behind her, kind of through the door. And he's like, and then he starts trying to feel her up while she's doing it. Now, I was like, everyone would try and throw up Jessica Biel. Ooh, yeah. Anyway, so basically her boyfriend Kemper decides to go in the house. Big mistake, buddy. You were told not to go in there, but you still went in there anyway. And you know what happens to people that get curiosity? Wallop, dollop. So he gets one right in the back and he gets dragged along by it. And he then gets pulled downstairs. Erin's like, "What's that? What's that?" Then basically Kemper gets his face cut off. And she goes running. No, sorry, she doesn't go running. She goes back. And it turns out that she left him. And she didn't know he was in there. She just thought he disappeared. So he walked back. Now, let me show you this. If he'd have walked back, it would have been one of the worst boyfriends ever, leaving her in a creepy house with a creepy man. Yeah. Now, you can tell where this is getting different to the original, which was a good thing. I like that this movie was slightly different. Well, in a lot of ways it was. So they get back to the van. She gets back to the van. And then Sheriff Hoyt turns up, played by Arlie Ermey. Now, Lee is probably one of the most sadistic looking men I've ever seen, and he plays the a-hole very, very well. Which makes me believe that he probably is one in real life. Not as, you know, because it's like, it just comes natural. And also he's enjoying it when it's been horrible. So he pulls up. He goes, oh, look at this. There's a dead body in there. And he starts making fun of him and stuff. There's a scene in it where he says he gets Morgan to sit in the back. And he goes, sit in the back, sit near the window. How did she shoot herself? And Morgan puts the gun under his chin. And he goes, she didn't do that. Put it in your boy mouth. Put it in your mouth, boy. All that. And then he gets them to help him, like, puts their frame around the body. And as he does it, he goes, oh, I used to like doing this because I used to get myself a quick fill on the breast. And I was in tears of laughter. There's also another bit where he goes, oh, she's a bit wet down there. What do you boys do to her? And you're like, I love Arlie in these movies because he's so creepy. And I thought I remembered him from somewhere. It was Full Metal Jacket. I don't like you, maggot. I like you. You can come around and my sister. Anyway. So he basically, so now we know his sister was technically a Hewitt family member. Anyway. So he ends up taking Morgan off to the house. Then basically Leatherface turns up, Thomas Hewitt, with Erin and Pepper. And they're in the van, and he's sawing through the van. Woo! Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. And then Pepper runs out and leaves Erin, and basically she runs, and Leatherface chases after her. Slices her dead. Goes like this. Erin, and he's got Kepper's face on. And it's so creepy. Imagine seeing your partner's dead face on somebody else who's killing people wearing it. That'd be so creepy. But you find out as well, you find out a little bit later, but the reason why he cuts people's faces off to wear them is because he's got a skin virus. And that's why he cuts people's faces off. So anyway, she's like, ah! And she gets away. And basically, she eventually runs back to that. She eventually runs, and she gets caught, and she ends up in this little trailer with, let me see if I can get it right, T-Lady in Trailer. That's right, T-Lady in Trailer, who is also in Beginnings. She's the big overweight woman who basically gets pushed back into the door and locks it in the beginning. You know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning. So she's there drinking with us because he needs to save me. Please save me. Give me a phone. And they go, oh, we haven't got a phone, dearie. Absentee. And he won't hurt us. He's a good boy. And you're like, And then you think, why is she drinking the tea? And basically, it knocks her out. But she finds out that the baby isn't this. She's the baby. I'm guessing was the girls who basically shot herself in the head. You know, and then she wakes up in between Jeff Hoyt's legs, and he's got no pants on, just underwear. And you'll be like, ugh. She then gets thrown downstairs where she sees Andy in what I kind of liked it because he was kind of up on like the crucifix position on the hook. I kind of like that. I kind of thought that was pretty cool, you know. And basically, he ends up getting killed. I think he tells her to kill him. And basically, there's another chase scene where she gets away and they end up in the meat locker place and Leatherface cuts his arm off by accident. Oh no, sorry. He goes for her in the thing and she jumps out and cuts his arm off. He's like, look. And what a great thing it was when the arm was off and the chainsaw was still going with the arm. That was great. I like that. And yeah, and she runs off. Nowhere as good as Sally Burns. There isn't Sally Burns, is it? Mallory Burns, who played Sally Hardesty, sorry. Nowhere as good as that. So she runs off. Help me. Car drives off. a big truck driver pulls over, says get in, tries to talk to her. She's like, I just want to go home. He pulls up. You see the sheriff, you see the family, see the baby, see the creepy little woman who's got the baby. They go outside because they find out she's still alive. Jessica Biel Erin goes inside, takes the baby, runs over the sheriff, runs over him once, reverses, goes over him again, and then she drives off with the baby. And Leatherface comes out of nowhere and goes like this on the car, and she still gets away. But you see Leatherface go like this through the mask. And he's bleeding, his arm's cut off, and you're sitting there going, okay. So yeah, I didn't say all the movie, but I said the majority of it, obviously. The remake, I think the remake is really, really well acted. I think it's probably the best acted out the series, to be honest. Because in the 1974 one, Sally, Marion Burns was fantastic as Sally, and the cast were great for the 70s. Now, you got to remember, back in the 70s, there were great films, but some of the acting was appalling, even though it was classic movies. I really thought Jessica Biel hit the mark on this. I thought all the characters around her were pretty good as well. They looked naturally scared, it looked dark, it looked gritty, and it was really, really creepy. I really enjoyed the movie. I would highly recommend it. If I had to recommend to watch one other than the original, I'd say watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake, first, after the original. Because even though Beginnings was good, I liked this a lot more. It didn't have the best kills in it, but it was a lot more creepy. I did like it when they picked up the girl and she shot herself in the head. And then the camera went through it. I think it was artistically done to a degree on that scene. I'm probably in love with Andrew Bryniewski, who plays Thomas Stewart's Leatherface, because I think Leatherface has never looked so creepy or so in charge. What I mean by that is he doesn't do all that whimpering. He runs after them, he slaughters them, and he looks like a killing machine. He doesn't look like a character with severe mental health issues who's controlled by a member of family or a member of his adopted family, because technically they took him in according to Beginnings. And there was one scene in this where he's sitting on the floor and he's like, but other than that, he's not whimpering. In I think it's 1, 2, 3 and 4, he's whimpering all the time. And I think even though it's scary because he's whimpering, I think it's actually a lot better in these ones where he's kind of darker and kind of, he has that look in his eyes like, I want to slaughter you, I enjoy this, instead of the, I've got to do this kind of thing, you know? Like, it's more an mission than he is just doing it for his family, like, he enjoys it more. When he cuts off Kemper's face and he puts it on and he looks at her, it's just such a creepy, creepy scene. Because imagine it, you're with a guy for 3 or 4 years, right? You've had sex with him. You wanted to engage him. You want to get married. You want to have kids. He's dead, right? The killer you see, you don't know he's dead, but the killer you see when he turns around has got your boyfriend's face on him, even though he's supposed to be the love of your life, the bloke whose face it is. So imagine how creepy and scary that is. The only problem I did was with Jessica Biel. She's very beautiful and she's great and wonderful, but I didn't feel like the ending affected her as much as it did with Marion Burns. Marion Burns looked like she was going insane. She was screaming, she had blood all over her, and it was a real, real creepy ending. I mean, it was horrifying. In this, she's got the baby and they're driving off and she just seems like she's really affected, but it doesn't seem like somebody who's lost everything. And I think, to be honest, that's one of the downsides of this film. Because, in my view, I would have liked to have seen the kind of Marion Burns kind of ending. And it be the strength of the movie. Because the strength of the movie is that a lot of the things that happen in it are not the same as the original, which I think is great. Because it's a remake worth watching because it's not the same plot and same thing over and over again, scene by scene. And they're the kind of remakes I like. I do think this is one of the better remakes. I will admit, for a 2003 film, I think it's 2003. Yep, for a 2003 film, it hits the nail on the head. It's creepy, it's horrifying, it's got some real good shocks in it. It's a real dark, and you feel like the family get kicks off it. It's a weird feeling. But after watching these movies years ago, I didn't want to go to Texas. I still don't want to go to Texas. Not because I think they're all this way, but because you never know. Drive down that lonely highway, you're going to be scared, aren't you? That's what horror movies are meant to do. They're meant to shock you. They're meant to scare you. They're meant to make you look under the bed. Meant to make you look in the cupboard. Make you look and be scared of going to somewhere like Texas. Like Hostel. Hostel's meant to make you scared of going to certain countries. Because they might have that happen, you know. So, it's a great film. I like it. I would put it up there with the first one. I would, seriously. So yeah, that's 2003's Texas Chainsaw Massacre starring Jessica Biel and Eric Balfour. So yeah, highly recommend it, guys. Give it a go. I'm going to give this a 4.5 because I really enjoyed it. I recommend it. It's dark, it's gritty, it is a bit scary. It's worth watching it in the dark because you're going to jump more. And it's just a really good film. It's probably what I would put it in the top 5 remakes of all time of horror films. I don't know what number I'd put at because I need to watch every remake. But I'd put it in. I'd probably put it under My Bloody Valentine because I like My Bloody Valentine, the remake. So I'll put this at number 2 and My Bloody Valentine at number 1 at the minute. So yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the remake from 2003. Check it out. If you've seen it, let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Please like it. If you like the video, please like it. My voice then. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And thanks for watching, guys. And take care. And as always, check out my other videos.